The coffee has gone cold. You are sitting by the window. The house feels quieter than it used to. The chair across the room is still there. The mug beside you is still there. But the morning feels different now, as if something important has been removed from the room and left no shape behind. Then a flash of green appears outside. A tiny shape hovers by a flower. For a moment, everything else disappears. The bird hangs almost still in the air. Its wings move too fast to follow. Its body seems suspended between motion and silence. And something shifts inside you. Not dramatically, just enough to notice. Many people describe moments like this after the loss of someone they love. A hummingbird appears outside a window. It pauses near a porch. It hovers in a garden that suddenly feels full of memory. The same thought often follows. What did that mean? Some people believe these encounters are signs. Others see them as coincidence. But there may be a deeper possibility. The meaning of the moment may not come from the bird alone. It may come from the way grief changes what you notice. If you are drawn to the quiet meaning of birds, nature, and the moments that stay with us long after they pass, you are in the right place. Here we explore the meeting point between science, symbolism, and the human experience of wonder. The ruby-throated hummingbird is one of the most remarkable birds in North America. Despite weighing only a few grams, it can migrate hundreds of miles across the Gulf of Mexico without stopping. During flight, its wings can beat more than 50 times every second. Its heart can race at astonishing speeds. Its whole life seems built on energy, precision, and endurance. But most people do not think of those facts when they see one. They remember the feeling. Part of that feeling comes from the way hummingbirds move. Most birds pass through our lives quickly. They fly overhead and vanish. A hummingbird does something different. It hovers. It pauses. Sometimes it appears almost at eye level. For a brief moment, it feels less like you are watching the bird and more like the bird is meeting you there. That matters. At the University of California, Berkeley, Dacher Keltner has spent years studying awe as a real emotional force, not a vague feeling. In a 2019 Berkeley summary of Craig Anderson's study, veterans and underserved youth who went on river rafting trips reported their well-being before and after the trip. And awe in nature helped explain the gains in well-being more than the other positive emotions did. Then, in the 2023 study on daily experiences of awe, daily awe predicted less stress, fewer somatic symptoms, and greater well-being over a 22-day diary period. That is measurable. Awe is not just poetry. It shows up in the body, in mood, and in the way attention opens back up again. The ruby-throated hummingbird carries that same lesson in its body. Cornell Lab of Ornithology notes that these tiny birds routinely fly about 700 miles across the Gulf of Mexico during migration. They do it at night. They do it by drawing on fat reserves they have stored for the journey. And to stay oriented, they use the rotation of the stars and the Earth's magnetic field. A bird that small, crossing that much water, is not simply beautiful. It is disciplined. It is built for endurance. It has to leave what it knows, trust what it cannot see, and keep going over a distance that would overwhelm most creatures. That is why the hummingbird matters here. It does not just symbolize motion, it survives through motion. And for someone living with loss, that matters. Grief often feels like a crossing with no visible shore. You do not get to skip the distance. You do not get to avoid the fatigue. You simply keep moving through it, carrying what you can, using what energy remains, and trusting that the next stretch is still worth crossing. Grief has a way of narrowing attention. When someone we love dies, the world can feel smaller. Our thoughts return to the same memories, the same questions, the same absence. And the mind becomes highly alert to anything linked to memory and meaning. That is one reason people sometimes notice patterns after loss. You may have heard of something called the frequency illusion. It happens when something becomes important to you and then seems to show up everywhere. Perhaps you begin noticing the same cardinal in the yard, or the same line of morning light on the windowsill, and it feels as if the world is quietly answering you. Those moments were always there. Your attention changed. The point is not that the bird was not real. The point is that your mind is now searching for meaning with a new kind of urgency, and that changes what stands out. Modern grief research helps explain why. For a long time, grief was described as a process of letting go. The idea was simple: accept the loss, detach, move on. But researchers such as Dennis Klass, Phyllis Silverman, and Stephen Nickman offered a different view through continuing bonds theory. Their work suggested that healthy grief does not always mean ending the relationship with the person who died. Often it means changing the relationship. The person is gone. The connection remains. Not in the same form, but in another one. A memory, a ritual, a story, a song, a place, or sometimes a moment in nature. That idea feels true to a lot of people because it matches real life. Most of us do not stop loving someone just because they are no longer physically present. We carry them forward. And because we carry them forward, some moments land differently. A hummingbird may become one of those moments. Not because it proves something, not because it answers every spiritual question, but because it becomes part of the ongoing conversation between love and memory. Another grief researcher, Robert Niemeyer, describes bereavement as a process of meaning reconstruction. That is the slow work of building a new story after loss. Because loss does not only take a person away, it can shake your assumptions, it can change your identity, it can make you ask who you are now that someone so important is gone. Meaning reconstruction is how the mind starts to make room for that new reality, without pretending the loss never happened. And nature often plays a quiet role in that process. A garden becomes more than a garden. A tree becomes more than a tree. A bird becomes unforgettable. The object is not the whole story. The meaning you attach to it becomes part of the story. That brings us back to the hummingbird. Across cultures, hummingbirds have been linked with resilience, vitality, transformation, and renewal. Some traditions saw them as messengers. Others saw them as symbols of joy and endurance. But perhaps the strongest symbolism comes from the bird itself. Consider what it survives: long migrations, storms, constant energy demands, a life built on motion, adaptation, and persistence. It has a hard life, yet somehow it keeps moving. And there is a quiet lesson in that. Not because the bird is trying to teach us, because sometimes life reflects our own struggle back to us. Many grieving people are doing something similar. They are carrying an emotional journey that feels heavier than it should. They are learning how to keep going through days that feel unfamiliar. They are finding a way to continue, one morning at a time, one breath at a time, one season at a time. And that may be why the hummingbird feels so meaningful. It appears at the intersection of beauty and endurance, wonder and survival, fragility and strength. Whether you see the bird as a sign, a symbol, or simply a beautiful coincidence is a personal choice. No study can make that decision for you. But there is another question worth asking. What happened inside you when the bird appeared? Did you pause? Did you remember someone you love? Did you feel connected to something larger than yourself? Did you feel, even for a moment, a little less alone? Those experiences are real. Those experiences matter. The hummingbird may not have come to deliver a message. It may have come to create a moment, and sometimes a moment is enough to breathe, enough to remember, enough to feel that love has not vanished simply because someone is gone. The coffee is still sitting by the window. The house is still quiet. The chair across the room remains empty. Outside, the hummingbird has already disappeared, but something has changed. Not necessarily in the world, maybe in the way you are seeing it. The bird is gone. The meaning remains. And if this story brought someone to mind, tell me about a moment with a bird, a place, or a small sign that stayed with you after a loss. I read every one. These are the stories I carry the longest.